Welcome, as I said, and thank you for joining us. Our goals are pretty basic today. I have two people from MD5 joining me today, and they'll be driving the demonstration and the discussion. But our goals are basically to introduce you, if you're not aware, to MD5's VFC, Virtual Forensic Computing software, and to demonstrate how it's used and how easy it is to use and to create virtual machines that can be used for triage or investigations, multiple different things along the lines of forensics, digital forensics, and most importantly, to basically go through a demo, let you see the software, um, and learn about it that way. So the good folks from MD5 that I have today, who are in Nashville as we do this, Tom Cross, who's the MD5 VFC sales manager, Lindsay Appleyard, who's the MD5 sales manager, and as I noted to start, I'm Jim Barecki. Um, I basically handle business development opportunities for digital intelligence here in Wisconsin. So thank you, and I will now turn this over to Lindsay at MD5.
Hi guys, thank you for joining. Please accept our apologies. We're actually in the music centre in Nashville over in the United States, and it's quite loud and echoey, so please accept our apologies for this. Um, so just to get started, I'm Lindsay. I'm the one of the VFC sales managers. I'm here with Tom Cross. Tom's going to be demonstrating our VFC forensic software for you. Um, can I have the next slide, Jim, please? Right. So just a little bit of a background. MD5 started in 2003, where they created the VFC. We have our lab, our forensic lab in the over in the UK, um, where we do all our our business there. And VFC is allowing our experts to discover reliable evidence from the investigation of all computers and mobile phone devices, even from cloud data and internet activity. Can I have the next slide, please, Jim? So, what is VFC? VFC is the leading virtualization tool for our forensic investigator. It allows you to safely view everything on the computer in seconds. VFC allows you to create the virtual machine in seconds without compromising any of the original data. VFC also removes guesswork from virtualization and allows the investigator to concentrate on the investigation. VFC also allows the investigator to experience the original computer environment, just like the original end user would view this. Jim, can I have the next slide, please? Right, why would you want to use VFC? VFC, you can access all settings on the suspect's laptop, computer. You can even see all the hidden files, the jump list, the internet history. You can even take screenshots of this. Also, using VFC, you can also use it as a triage tool. So, if you've got multiple exhibits and you're wanting to work through date range, on this triage tool, you can view the date range. So, for example, in MD5, we had a case, we had 20 exhibits in there. Using the date range on the triage tool, we only had to use 3 of the laptops within that date range, which saved a lot of time. It helps you prioritize all your work. Also, VFC can be used in court, in interviews, in the field. It's a very good tool to use and to have. Um, VFC also lets you bypass passwords and convert Windows Live accounts to local accounts. You can also create and boot up a VM in seconds, which is very helpful with if you've got less time to be working on a case. You can also create a standalone copy. So if you've got multiple officers that you're doing the examination and one of the officers want to look at the VM, you can always pass this on and they can use it. They won't change any data on there. Um, you've got your original VM. So if you pass it on, this it doesn't matter if they change anything. You've still got the original VM on there. So it is quite a good functional tool to have. Is VFC. Um, Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass you over to Tom, and he's going to go through the demo. If you've got any questions, either please send a message or speak up, and we can answer all your questions there. Thank you for your time.
Now,
Yes, we
please.
do.
Perfect. So hopefully this is going to run a little bit smoother because I've just done a full restart of my machine. So I'll start again. What I'll do is I'm going to talk through these tabs at the top, show you all the ins and outs, show you all the features, just showing you how powerful VFC is, and then I'll boot up a virtual machine and just show you how quick that actually is. So we'll start on this tab here, and I will hover over our VFC mounting tool. So if we click on this, this is our purpose-built mounting tool to work with VFC. If you wish to have a mounting tool to work with other softwares, you can actually download this from our website. If you want to get in touch with Jim, he actually has the ability to send you the link for all this. So I will click on mount. Let's mount the image. So this is my official demo file. Let's click OK. You can actually use this with a locked hard drive as well. So if you have got a time sensitive case and you need to get into it straight away, plug it into a write blocker, plug the hard drive into a write blocker, and VFC will work exactly the same, allowing you to bypass passwords, allowing you to get into the desktop, allowing you to get into that machine and have a look at just exactly what is on there. So now we've mounted that image, we're going to cross this off. Let's select the mounted image now. So you can see here we've got a Seagate basic disk device, and we also have a Kingston data USB device on there as well. So it's actually picking up the other drives that I've got plugged into this machine. This is where you would select a write blocked hard drive. Sometimes you may need to give that a drive letter, but that shouldn't be an issue. So we're going to select the VFC mounted disk. Let's click OK. And then you'll see that this box has now been populated. 9 times out of 10, this box will probably have a lot more partitions in than what I have, but we've kept it nice and simple for the purpose of this demonstration. What we need to do here is select the partition with the operating system on there so VFC can create that virtual machine. If you select the wrong one, VFC will simply tell you that you've selected the wrong one, and then you will need to just select a different one, hopefully with the operating system on there. So we're going to select that. You'll see in the bottom left-hand corner, it's going to start with a progress bar. What this is doing is, as Lindsay mentioned previously, this is where you can use VFC to triage and prioritize your workload. So in about 5 seconds time, you'll see on the right-hand side the box will populate. There we go. So now this gives you some information from the registry telling you who the registered owner is, when it was last used, when it was last shut down. Lindsay gave an example during the slides of that we actually received 20 exhibits in at MD5. So we wanted to actually see, do we need to look at all these exhibits? We had a specific time zone of 2022, so it was quite recent. We put it into VFC and found that we actually only needed to do investigation work on 3 of those hard drives out of the complete 20, obviously. Straight away, you know that's going to save a lot of time. If this was part of that exhibit hall, you can see here straight away on this section that the last use date was 2021, so we wouldn't need to look at this. Now, obviously, we are aware that you'll need to prove why you don't need to look at this. So let's go into the VFC log. The VFC log actually logs everything that you do. It writes down everything that you do, where it's pulling the information from, and everything like that. So if we scroll further down, it's actually telling you that it's pulling this information through from the registry, and it's beginning the dump of the partition table. You can see here that it's analyzing the partition, creating the temporary disks, locating this all from the registry. You see we're retrieving the digital thing, registry unload successful. So that is where it's all finding it. Now, what I do like to show is just how quick it's finding this information. So as I scroll down, all this is within the same 2 seconds. So it's finding that information so fast. Obviously, again, saving you a lot of time, saving you a lot of effort of having to write your own notes out as well. So now we've passed that. Let's have a look at what else we can find using this information. We can see there's no password set, which is quite handy. I will treat this as if there is a password set on here, just so I can show you the 2 password tools that we have built into VFC, which I'll get on a bit further down the line. VFC, what we've recently added to VFC is this actual triage function. So it's a simple triage tool. If we click on this, you can see if there's any files on the desktop. Further down, it'll show you if there is any recent internet history searches or anything like that. So once we've actually established, okay, maybe we need to do a look at this, let's have a look in the triage section. And we can see on the desktop, we've got dodgy items to sell, we've got family holiday pictures, we've got invoices and everything like that. So straight away, we want to look into this. So let's copy that information out, put that into your report, and then you can actually start making that virtual machine. Just to show you some of the operating systems that we do. So we have every single Windows operating system built into VFC, so it's fully capable of doing all those. And then we also have these ones as well. So let's just click into Linux and just see what Linux-based operating systems it's capable of doing. You'll be more aware than I am of how easy it is to change the Linux-based operating system. So depending on how much the original user has changed that, it'll depend on whether VFC is capable of doing that. Basic Linux-based operating systems can, if they haven't been changed that much, the likelihood VFC is going to be capable of virtualizing that. So that's the main interface of VFC. So I'll go through some of these other tabs, and then I'll come back to this page and we'll actually make the virtual machine. So let's go to modify hardware. Now I have actually created a virtual machine about an hour ago, just so I can show you all this without actually creating one while I'm here. So I've actually populated this box with that virtual machine, and it brings you some information up on the left hand side. Now you can see here the main things I want to discuss are the device count and the memory. So what you can actually do if you want to start doing extra work on that virtual machine than what it was intended to do. So all virtual machines are set at 2 GB of RAM. If you want to increase that, it is as simple as clicking on the memory section, holding this toggle here and just sliding that bar across. Let's put it to 4 GB. Let's hit save. Do I want to save? Sure, let's do that. That's saved now, so as soon as you launch that virtual machine up, you will have that at 4 GB of RAM. We also have this device count section here. So the devices on this virtual machine are currently at 9. Say you want to add an external USB memory device onto this. Very simple using VFC. So we actually, if you've got an image of it, great. If you haven't, plug that into a write blocker as well. Click hard disk, and then you're just following the instructions. Is it mounted? Yes, it is. And you're just following the instructions of where it is, and then you can actually add that into VFC. Now, I haven't actually got one of those at the moment, but all you would need to do is add to physical disk, which is the virtual machine. So we'll select that, which is that one. Populate this box of the specific VMDK file, and then just click finish, and then you will be able to access that USB memory device within the virtual machine. Patch VM and restore points. Quite straightforward in terms of how this works. If you know there's a restore point on that virtual machine, you can use VFC to put that time back. How do we look to see if there is a restore point? Boot up that virtual machine to start off with, have a look in the settings, have a look in the files. If we've noticed there's a restore point, simply select that virtual machine in here, click open, it's going to populate those boxes, and then we simply select which disk, which version of it we want to put it to, and then launch that virtual machine, and then you'll find it's been booted up to that previous restore point. Now, there has been a case before at MD5, it was a terrorism case where we received the laptop into our premises. We opened it up in VFC. We found that this is actually quite a clean laptop. There's nothing on it. We realised there was a restore point on there. We used VFC to put the time back, and we actually found applications and software on there linked to Al Qaeda. So VFC in its own then actually drove that case home. We put that into the report, that went to court, and obviously that person then was handed a sentence. The password bypass. This is the first of our two password tools. So this is the password bypass tool. The other tool is the generic password reset tool. Why we included the password bypass tool was so we can convert Windows Live accounts to local accounts. Obviously, you're not going to have internet access, so we need to be able to get into those accounts. So VFC will convert those into local accounts for you, and then it will bypass the passwords up to domain level as well. So if you've got domain passwords on there, it is as simple as selecting that virtual machine. Let's select this one, applying the password bypass. Let's click it. You'll see the bar come up at the bottom. It may take around between 10 and 30 seconds to do. And then you'll be able to resume that virtual machine with no passwords on there at all. It's as simple as that. It's saying it couldn't find that memory file because, like I say, I just created that machine before I came onto this demo, so I haven't actually got that open up in VMware at the moment. But it is as simple as populating those boxes, letting that bar slide across, and then it's completed. If it doesn't bypass the password itself, we have got advanced features here. And if then that doesn't work, get in touch with us because it should work. Very straightforward. If you send us this VFC log here, which I discussed earlier, we'll have a look at where it's breaking down and we'll fix that. So, in terms of the level of support that you get, you will receive that information back within the 24-hour period. So, the standalone virtual machine, Lindsay did touch on this a bit earlier, but to go more in depth on this, say you want to create a virtual machine, you want to look through it, but you also want to send it to court, you want to pass it on to a different department, you want to pass it on to one of your superiors who doesn't necessarily know how to use this forensic software. You create your virtual machine and you can actually create a standalone copy of this virtual machine where all the other person would need is the emulator software such as Vmware. So I've selected this virtual machine in here. Let's select the target. Where do we want to save it? We want to save it somewhere. I'm not going to do it on this laptop because it does take up quite a lot of space. Essentially, you are copying that virtual machine twice. So let's cancel that. And then once you've done that, it may take between 1 or 2 hours, depending on how powerful your machine is. Like I say, this is a laptop, so it may take a little bit of time to do that. And then you've got a fully working virtual machine that you can use without VFC. Settings and tool tab, quite straightforward. We've only got a disable automatic mounting. You wouldn't need to untick that. We've got mount and explore. So once you've actually created a virtual machine and you want to come back to it at another point in time in the future, use the explore and mount tab. That'll get you back in the safest way possible without corrupting that virtual machine file. This is just our license agreement, and then we've got the About tab again, giving you access to that VFC log. So now we've actually gone through the main features of VFC. Let's just show you how quick it is to create a virtual machine. So let's click Make New Virtual Machine. Let's overwrite this. Let's save it actually in a different file. So I'm going to call it DI testing. Hit save. So now that virtual machine is being created, you can see here at the bottom just how quick it is going to create this for you. It may take up to a minute or two to create this, but I believe it's going to do it a lot quicker than that. Again, as soon as I finish talking, that virtual machine has now been created. So now we're going to launch that virtual machine, and that is going to automatically open up VMware. Now, for law enforcement, as far as MD5 is aware, VMware is a free tool. So if you get in touch with VMware and say that we are XYZ law enforcement agency, you should get VMware Workstation Pro free of charge. So now all we need to do is wait for this virtual machine to actually load up, which again may take 30 seconds. So if you do have any questions, now would be a good time to ask them of anything that we've discussed already. So we'll just give this a moment to load up. You can see it's getting devices ready. You can see that you are now viewing this as the original user would have viewed it. Like Lindsay's previously mentioned, you don't have to necessarily just use it in the investigation side of it. We have had success stories and instances. This software has actually been used in the interviewing process within court as well to show a judge and a jury um, just how the original user would have used the PC or laptop.
Hey, Tom.
Yep,
So there's some questions coming in.
perfect.
So why don't I just can you can't see the questions, can you?
I can't see the questions at the moment, no.
Yeah, okay. One question is, can you demo a new Mac OS also, please? I don't think we're prepared today to do that, right?
No, I haven't. I haven't got the image on me. We have an image of one at our office back in the UK. So if that person wants to get in touch with you, Jim, we can certainly sort that out, and I can show that person at another point in the future.
Okay, or maybe what we'll do is we could even make a couple of videos and post them up on our site so people can access
Definitely.
them. So one
Yeah. No, that.
question, one question is, does VFC support using Hyper-V VMS?
Um, As far as I'm aware, yes. But what I'll do just to confirm, because the last thing I want to do is say yes, is I'll confirm that with our technical team. But I'm confident it does.
Another question is, what is VFC using to bypass the password?
Good question. I wish I could say elves. um, it's it's using a third party uh, tool that gets around those passwords. For the life of me, I can't remember what it's called. So I'll have to check actually with our developers on that one
Okay.
to see what it's called. But I think that's a third party tool included in there.
Yeah, I mean, just for everybody in attendance, as long as you don't mind, we do have access to the registered emails, so we could put together some information and send those out to you. It wouldn't be applicable to everyone, but we can do that after the fact if we can't get an answer to you today.
No,
Um,
that's brilliant.
Another question is, this only works with VMware. How about VirtualBox?
So there is a way to actually use it with Virtualbox. It's not as straightforward as it is with VMware, just because VFC has actually been designed to work with VMware. Um, as far as we are aware, that VMware is a free tool, so that's why we've developed to work with that. VirtualBox isn't as stable as VMware we found in the UK. So the way to do it with VirtualBox is actually create the virtual machine. So let's go back to VFC. So once you've actually created it, a box came up saying launch now or launch later. If you select launch later and then open that virtual machine up within VirtualBox, there should be no issue whatsoever. It is the same sort of file structure that's being created to open up in VMware as it would be VirtualBox. It's just not as seamless to use it with VirtualBox.
Another question, Tom. Thank you. Does the password reset work with domains?
So the password reset tool, which is this one here, no. But the password bypass tool, yes. So we've included both tools in VFC because both have a beneficial feature. Obviously, the most beneficial feature of the password bypass tool is it converts those Windows Live accounts to local accounts and also removes passwords up to domain level. The reason why we've kept the generic password reset tool is, and once you've accessed a local user account using the password, the changed password, so I'm actually going to change this to 123456. If you then go into that browser history and there's some safe passwords there, it's going to ask you for a password to put in to view those. Then you simply just type in 123456 and you'll be able to access those passwords.
Okay, great. There was a comment. Someone basically is interested in having some future video tutorials posted. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
come back to that, Tom, a
No
little bit
problem.
later. Another question before you get going. Can you mount image types other than EO1?
Yes, you can. I believe there are, I think it's 9 or 10 different types. Um, I will, in fact, um, so I think you can do VMKs. Obviously, there's EO1. There's various, many different ones that you can do it with. Obviously, EO1 is the encase file, which is what we use to create this image.
Okay. All right, that's the extent of the questions for now. So why don't you
Perfect.
go ahead and continue?
Yeah, no problem. So, like I've just quickly said here, this is our generic password reset tool. This is the second password tool that we have included in VFC. This is automatically injected into every single VM that's generated. So let's actually go ahead and just minimize that for a moment and actually just type in a password. Let's just try this out. In fact, let's not. Let's just press enter. It's going to say the password is incorrect. So let's then open this box up here. So what we want to do is we want to actually get into the account that we've just seen, which is called Tom, which is me. So we're going to press 1 and we're going to list those local user accounts. We can actually see there that number 3 is actually the one we want to get into. So what we want to do now, number 2, reset that local user account. So we're going to press number 2. So we go ahead and then just type Tom in, hit enter. We're going to change that password to 123456. Hit enter on there, and that password has now successfully been changed in the virtual machine. Again, it's not changing anything on the original hard drive or anything like that. It's solely just in that virtual machine. So we're going to go ahead and type in 123456. We're going to view that as 123456. We're going to press this button and it's going to let us straight into that virtual machine. First thing that we see there is uTorrents open. So this person quite clearly has this set to open up as soon as you enter that user account. First thing we can do here is see if anything is mid-upload, mid-download to see what sort of things they have been downloading. If there is anything, we can go into the settings. We can see what's been selected in terms of non-default settings. Let's go into that. Let's have a look to see if privacy has been changed. You can go into all settings on the machine as well, not just in uTorrent. So let's minimize that off. Straight away, you'll see the background, and we've got a skull and crossbones there. But there has been instances in the past where the what's on the screensaver, what's on the wallpaper is actually quite crucial evidence. That has gone a long way to um, to proving anything in court. I won't go into too much detail as is going on YouTube. Um, you can see on this side here, apologies for that, you can see on this side here we have actually got some hidden files. So this person quite clearly wants to try and hide something on there. We've got a file called Dodgy Items to Sell. We've got How to Plan a Perfect Murder. I know that sounds ridiculous, but there has actually been a case, I believe it was in Oklahoma, where the person actually had this on their desktop of How to Plan a Perfect Murder, which is absolutely ludicrous. So we'll actually go into How to Plan the Perfect Murder. We'll actually find a file in there. We'll open this up and we'll see what that file says. Again, this is all evidence. VFC has made this so easy to find. We've actually found this within 30 seconds of opening that virtual machine up. VFC has allowed us to present this in the best possible way. So if you are actually showing this sort of information to someone that doesn't understand digital forensic jargon. So, like a judge or the jury, if you show them actual screenshots, images, or you can actually take VFC into court, if you show them what the original user would have done, so you can create that timeline, then they're going to understand it a lot more than just having the reports in front of them. So we'll close that off. We can actually right click and go onto properties and see when all this was actually created. So you can see that this was actually created in January 2021. You can see the date and time there at the bottom of the virtual machine is the 20th of May 2021. So you can see that this actually was created 5 months prior to the last time this user would have used this machine. If we go here, another example, so a jump list. When I first started at MD5, someone actually asked me what a jump list was. I didn't know, but I know what this looks like. You can see the most frequently accessed file actually is How to Plan a Perfect Murder. You can see what we've got pinned to the desktop. I'll quickly talk about the CCleaner while it's there as well. But you can actually, a picture paints 1,000 words at the end of the day. And if you can show someone this sort of information as a picture, as a screenshot, rather than just words written down on paper, they're going to understand it a lot more. You can see CCleaner came up with an alert. Let's open CCleaner up. Let's see when the last clean was done. Someone may have turned around and said that, no, I didn't put this on my machine. A virus will have put this on my machine. But you go into CCleaner and you can actually see that there's been no virus on this machine. There's nothing in quarantine. There's nothing like that. So where's it come from? You can actually start putting all these jigsaw pieces together to actually paint a much bigger picture. Again, go into the settings, have a look to see when they've set to schedule. Let's go into that. You can actually see all this sort of thing here. They may have scheduled it to clean every hour, every day. If they have, then that quite clearly isn't default settings. So this person's either trying to hide something or something like that. But it just goes a long way to actually show, wait, this person is changing original settings. Why is he doing it? Let's go out of that. You can see that this person hasn't tried to empty the recycle bin. If you're like me, that's what I do. I don't empty anything out of my recycle bin. So this person quite clearly hasn't properly tried to cover their tracks. Say you're doing a fraud or financial investigation and someone turns around and says that I don't know this person, I've never met this person, or they turn around and say that no, we don't need to pay tax, we can't afford to do anything or anything like that. Again, this doesn't necessarily prove anything, but this just shows you, okay, so this person has a picture of £1,000 stake on the laptop. Where's that come from? Okay, well, we'll right click that, we'll have a look at the properties. Let's have a look when that was created, when that was taken, where it's come from, previous versions, if there are any, the details. So when was it taken, the height, the width of the image, and everything like that. If you have taken it on a camera or anything, it's going to show you the camera maker, the camera model, and everything like that. So it just shows you how much information you can actually find and how easy it is to find this information using VFC. Let's come out of that for a second. So on here, we've got Sage, we've got a Reflect customer database, we've got QuickBooks. So if I was to go into this software here, let's go into Reflect customer database. This is going to tell me that this license has expired. Now, I'm not going to do this at the moment because it may take up a little bit too much time to sort, but you can actually use VFC to put the time back so you can use this database within its license period. So again, the same principle with Photoshop, same principle with any proprietary databases or anything like that, or basically any software on there that has a license period, you can access that specific version using VFC. There's been quite a few cases where there's purpose-built software used in large organizations where they are literally the only ones to have that software. Let's say they go into liquidation and that company doesn't exist anymore. You are not going to be able to find that software anywhere in order to use that to understand it. You don't need to when you use VFC. Boot it up into VFC. Let's have a look at it. Let's go through that database just as the original user would have been able to. Say you do find something on, let's say, Sage, for example. Let's go into this document up here. Let's say that we've exported this document from Sage and we want to put that onto our own machine so we can put it into a report. Nice and simple. This is where VMware comes in handy. So we've downloaded this. We've got some information here. We've got a John Smith at demo.co.uk that lives at 123 Demo Road, and the postal address is MD5 4DM. Brilliant. We want that on our own machine. So up here, if I click install VMware tools, I don't want to do that again just because I don't want to overwork this laptop. But if I install VMware tools, that will give you the ability to copy and paste any extracted data that you want on your host machine. Simply right click, copy, drag that over to your machine, and you have that then on your machine with a new modified date, just so you can then maybe print it off, whether it's financial data, so you can put that into reports, pass that on to whoever you want. Let's go into the Google Chrome browser, so I'll double click into that. Now, I haven't actually got any safe passwords on here, but I'll show you how easy it is to find that information out. So let's click into this here. So we can actually go into the history. So let's click into the history. Obviously, there's no internet access to this machine, um, so no one can actually tap into this and change any data or access any of it as well. But you can actually see, providing they haven't deleted their internet history, you can see their recent searches. You can see we've got expensive family restaurant pics. So again, piece that together and you can see where I've actually found those pictures. I got them off Google Chrome at this specific time on a specific date. If I go further down, which I won't, you'll be able to see my spelling mistakes as well. So let's go further into it. Let's actually click into settings. So we can actually see here, maybe they've got some saved card details in there to see if you can actually link it to a specific person. Say that they're a fraudster and they've actually duplicated cards or started stealing cards and they've put their payment information within the machine. You can have a look there again. If you've used the generic password reset tool, you've got a password to type in then to view that information. The exact same with the passwords. So if there were any safe passwords here, they'd be listed there and for you to be able to view them, you'd need to type that generic password resetted password into that. Let's click out of this and let's go to back to the home tab. So let's open it back up. Just give it a moment to load. Let's double make sure that actually does open up. While that's happening, let's take a trip to the bottom here. So you can see that there's actually emails there now. If the original user is anything like me, I have my emails open up automatically when I switch my PC on. Now, obviously, we're not going to have access to the internet, but if they do have their emails open up automatically, you're going to be able to view those last emails on there that would have been there when the user would have shut their laptop or shut down their laptop. Let's go into the weather app if we can. There we go. Again, this is very, very niche. This is going a long way to actually try and find something. But say a person has specific links, or you seem to think that a person has links to specific locations. Again, this doesn't necessarily prove anything. But let's go into the favorite locations here. You can see that we've got some there that aren't default locations. So again, why are they there? Why has this person put this on there? You go into the calendar. Let's say this person likes to keep their calendar digital. Go into their calendar and see what's there. So the possibilities are essentially endless in terms of what you can find using VFC and obviously then the virtual machine, and you can just see how quick and how accurate it is in building these virtual machines. Um, In terms of that, then that's pretty much VFC for you. If there's anything more specific you'd like to go into, um, let Jim know and I can put a video together for you. But if you've got
We
any
have a
questions,
we have a few more questions, Tom.
brilliant.
Okay, so uh, this one, um, this was a person who got to the webinar a little late. Will resetting the password have any issues with BitLocker encrypted, or excuse me, have any issues with BitLocker accounts and decrypting the data or the login?
So, in terms of a BitLocker drive, you VFC has no issues with virtualizing BitLocker drives, but you would need the key to still get in it. But a simple way to do that, once you've got the key, same process of using VFC. Mount the image or a right blocked hard drive, create that virtual machine. Once you're in the virtual machine, it will then ask you for the BitLocker key. Type that in, and then you can access that as normal.
Okay, great. How does VFC interact with or identify BitLocker encrypted volumes?
It will identify it as soon as it's virtualized. So within the virtual machine itself, once it's virtualized, it'll pick up the fact that it is an encrypted drive and it'll ask you for the key at that point.
Okay, do you recommend using snapshots when interacting with the VMs?
Yeah, so there is actually something that we're trying to integrate at the moment with which will be coming out in the next version of VFC. We are actually trying to get a screenshot function included. We always recommend take screenshots of the VMs 100%, so you can put them into your report so you can show people on the judge, the jury, just exactly why you'd want to do that.
Someone wants to know if the tool itself can run on a virtual environment.
I think there's something preventing that from happening, just because of the actual key within the dongle. So it is a dongle license. So I think there's something in the dongle that will not allow you to put that on a virtual machine.
Okay. Can you launch a virtual machine within an EO1 image, or does it have to be stripped out first?
Can you launch the virtual machine within an E1 image? Interesting question. I really don't know the answer to that one, unfortunately. But I will make a note of that and I'll get back to you, Jim.
Okay, we'll research that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at examples or best practices for capturing, quote, evidence findings, i.e. screen snip, capture, video, Camtasia, or just copy and paste.
Yeah.
I'm wondering
So,
about the best final product and report for a trial attorney.
so in terms of the reports that they use at the moment, obviously quite a lot of people do their reports differently. Um, in terms of software that I'd use to like do screen captures and everything like that. So in terms of the attorney, if you're say doing a financial case, export those documents and add them as an appendices at the end of the reports if you can do that. Some people like to embed the actual screenshots of the VM within the report itself. Please see specific image underneath, and so on and so forth. In terms of presenting as well, some people like to actually take screen recordings and to actually take them into court as well, again as evidence files. So it's all down to the specific user. But again, more than happy to see how other people in the UK currently use it and how they put that into their reports. It's not something we've necessarily asked. We just know that they have had success doing that.
Okay, Tom, if you could stop sharing for a second,
Yeah, no problem.
we'll wrap up here now.
No worries. So my screen should have stopped sharing now.
Okay, well, we had some questions, which is great. And as we said during the session, I'll circle back with Tom and we'll see if we can edit that gap at the beginning out of the video before we post it, or we'll figure out a way to clean it up if we can.
Definitely. Apologies for that again.
Oh, it's not a worry, Tom, not a worry. And maybe we'll look at another one based on some questions, and then I did say that as long as the attendees didn't mind, we'll be able to, because we have their email addresses, maybe send a notification to them when that information is available. So we'll do that. And in the meantime, I mean, you guys got the invite from Digital Intelligence, so you obviously know who DI is. I didn't go into any of those details up front, but we are here in North America. We're MD5's partner in North America, and we have pricing information, product information on the website, and you can always follow up after this with questions. And if we don't know the answers, we'll get those questions over to MD5 and get the answers for you. And the easiest way to do that, so everything is tracked, is just use the website, go to the ticketing, and submit a ticket. And it, 6 people will see it here, and it'll get assigned to the right person. And or you can send an email direct to sales@digitalintelligence.com, and all that information is available out on our website. With that, thank you, and thanks to MD5 for basically leading the session. And that's a wrap, I guess, as they say. Thank
Thank you
you
very
all.
much for your time, everyone. And just really quickly, sorry to interrupt, Jim. Thank you for organising this and putting this on for us as well. Really appreciate it.
Happy to do it.
Take care, everyone. Goodbye.